Okay, hello everyone, welcome to another video. This time we're going to be looking at Eidolons. Specifically the Eidolons that are on the plains of Eidolon. There are three of them: the Eidolon Terrorist, the Eidolon Gantulist and the Eidolon Hydralist. Now what we're doing here, so we've just come down onto the plains, we've got into our Archwing. That over there is the door. And the first protocol that we have to do is we need to locate the first Eidolon, which in this case is Terry, or the Eidolon Terrorist. Once we've done that, the next thing that we have to do is to pick up a lure. Now, Eidolon lures are scattered all over the map for the sake of speed, and in case all sorts of other factors come into play. I have lock pins all over the map. Now, lock pin is a consumable item that you can make in your foundry, and it will put this little circular thing here in the middle of the map, but you'll be able to see it both on the main map and on your mini map, and also on the screen. As you can see, there's all these yellow things highlighted for me. Now we're not actually going to go and pick up the next lures, because what we want to do is charge this one first. Now this here, this rock shaped like a bunch of horns, is a very good place for Vonvalis spawning. Now the reason we need Vonvalis is because we want to charge this Eidolon lure, and what's required for that is Vonvalis. So the lure will come along, it'll pick up Vonvalis, and with three of them, three Vonvalis, you break them through their initial shield phase and they open up and they'll get consumed by the lure. So this one's now been picked up by that. I'm just going to break the shield on that, and then that should be consumed. One more and that lure will be complete. Now annoyingly, we haven't got a very good spawn there, so we're going to go to the next place. We should expect to see them. It should be around here, or not. Often around other lures located on the map you'll find Vonvalis too. Today we're not being super lucky with this, so we're going to go straight back to the horns. Just one thing to note: each of these Vonvalis that you kill will drop these intact sentient cores. This is something that you'll need for your Quill Onco standing. Now we've already spent far too much time looking for Vonvalis. We didn't get a very good force spawn at the horns, so we're just going to go straight down to Terry, and we're going to talk about the next part. So Terry, as he stands at the moment, you'll notice that his health bar is grey. This means that he's invincible, effectively invulnerable to all damage. Now as soon as you enter into your operator, you'll notice that this now turns purple. The reason for this is because he's susceptible to damage when you're in your operator against his shield. So we're gonna grind away at his shield here. Now a couple of things I'm using: I've got an Iru Wisp on, and I have an amp that's made in the Vox Solaris standing. This is 777 amp. Now as you can see, we picked up that last Vonvalis, and now the Eidolon lure is charged. Now another thing that we're doing here is, you'll notice I'm using my Power Blast, whatever it's called, against the Terrorist, and it'll drop these little wisps on the floor, and these will give you 100% when it's maxed damage to your amp. And we're also being bombarded by the Grenier, just slightly irritating, but that's okay. I'm going to spawn a wisp again, break down the shield. Okay, now this is the part where his parts are susceptible to damage. Now Terry only has 4. 2 on his arms, or his biceps, and 2 on the kneecaps. And we have to break these parts in order to be able to move on to the next stage. Now as Oberon, I have additional radiation damage, so we're just going to get absolutely knocked all the way across the map. That was really helpful. Okay, come back, break apart. Now he's going to go into a bit of a groggy phase, and he'll do this raw. As soon as he stops breathing in, he'll do this effectively large exhale and roar. This will draw the attention of more Vombalists on the map, and while he's doing that will inflict a consistent guaranteed magnetic proc and probably kill your frame in the process. There are frames that can help you mitigate this, and we're going to show you that next, but for now, so we're just going to break the shield. There are a couple. There you go, this is another prime example of something I want to show you. They've recently changed it. I'm assuming it's either broken, not working intended, bugged or whatever, but now touching any part of an Eidolon when it goes to do his stomp will instantly kill you regardless of anything else you've got on your frame. Extremely annoying and makes the entire experience pretty much miserable, to be honest, but there we go. So now we're going to go back to breaking apart, and this time with no. So if this happens, it means that Vombalists have actually latched onto the Eidolon and they are aiming to heal it. We're getting all of the things that I wanted to show you out of the way all in one go, and it's quite convenient. Now then, there's still one active because we can't damage the shield, maybe? Or is it down now? No, it's down. Okay, so we're opening the shield back up, and now we're going to miss all over the place because apparently I'm useless. There you go. Break the part, and he's going to go down into this groggy phase again. Now you'll have to do this 4 times in order to actually get to the part where you can kill the Eidolon. Now I'm afraid there's going to be a little bit of loading backwards and forwards because we're not actually going to kill him this time round. What we're going to do is show you a few of the different kinds of rolls. Now, just before I leave with Oberon, this here Eidolon lure, as you can see, has taken damage. Now, Oberon has an ability, Renewal, which will allow lures and anybody else on your team to get healed. This is extremely important because if the lures die, you can't capture the Eidolons, and capturing them is very important. That's where all the best loot is, and if you kill them, like I say, you don't get the same loot pool. Also, you can't carry on to the next Eidolon. You have to capture them, which requires a certain amount of lures. For Terrorist, it's 2. For Gantylist and Hydralist, it is 3. So, with Oberon, the things that make him special for doing this is he can heal the lures when you've got your Renewal down and Hallowed Ground, aka Grass. This will make you immune to all status effects, and you can also put on an augment for your smite, which will make you do 200% more radiation damage, which is great. So that's why Oberon is used. He's effectively a healer, but he can also break the parts quite comfortably as well. The only issue with that is he doesn't really work that well in a team. He can cover a couple of roles perfectly fine, but he's not going to do either of them roles as good as somebody else. So the next thing on this video is we're going to show you a couple of the roles that we've got available to us here. Now then, I have all mine set up in loadouts over here. Now we're not going to go through Chroma because Chroma is basically doing the same thing that I've already showed you. When it goes down from the shield phase into the damage phase and you need to break apart, that's when Chroma is expected to pretty much one-shot that part. That's literally it. That is his job. The next aspect is what I was showing you with the wisps. So Chroma would also use a Nairo to spawn the wisps. Only difference is instead of using them himself, they're there for the purpose of the team. Now then, next one on the list is Harrow. Now pretty much regardless of whatever, you know, the meta is at the time, whatever it is that you're doing, Harrow is probably always going to be a necessary frame, purely because when it comes to doing the magnetic phase, so when the Eidolon's getting all groggy and he starts to do his roar and he's about to release that, Harrow has an ability called Covenant, and this is extremely important because it will make everybody on the team invincible for a certain amount of time. While you're invincible, not only will you not take any damage, but you also won't be affected by the status procs. Now, for those of you that don't know, the magnetic status proc move your energy, which obviously when you're using frames that require energy to effectively do their abilities, you know, that can cause you a massive amount of problems. So as you see here, we've literally just come from there. The first port of call is absolutely miles away, which is really annoying. That's why I'm coming towards him to tag him instead of tagging the area. So the other advantage of having lock pins, just going back to this, is that I can see what the nearest one is at any given time. Argument can be made that these all need to be memorized, and that's fine. For the most part I do, but at a split second glance you can't always tell which one's going to be the closest, and therefore the best solution if either a lure dies or anything else like that based on your positioning on the map. So that's why I have the lock pins there, just to cover all bases. So with the Harrow, we don't actually have an arrow, we have a different focus instead, and this one is Madarai, and we're using Madarai for Void Strike. So the amount of time that you spend in your Void Walk will stack up damage, as you can see at the top right of the screen. So we're now at 2.59 times damage. We're effectively going to use that to stack up massive amounts of damage with our operator, you know, so our amps are doing a ton of damage. Also with Madarai you can deal with wisps pretty easily, because you can max out your Void Dash to have Burning Dash and Meteoric Dash and things like that, and that'll mean that you'll be able to take out the Vombalist first phase really easily, so that the Eidolon lure can come and absorb it. Now when it comes to doing damage to the Terrorless and whatnot with your amp, if you're using Void Strike you want to be using the R3 option, your secondary option. And there's a couple of different amps that are better at this, but effectively you want to get the most bang for your buck, pretty much. So we're just going to break the shield down so that we can show you the groggy phrase. Unfortunately, without Wisp, this isn't the fastest thing. Ordinarily, you'd want to do this with a Vault Shield, which is going to be the next thing I'm showing you. Now, annoyingly, they also brought in, with whatever update it was that they did this, explosive amps now cause self-damage as well. This is another thing that's just extremely irritating. There's no reason for it to be in place, but it is, and we've got to deal with it, so there you go. Right, now with this frame in particular we don't have anything whatsoever to increase our damage against the Terrorless, so we're going to use something called the Sarper to support the team and ourselves, so that we can now do an awful lot more damage. So we've gone from hitting 2000 to, you know, up to 8.9. Now this is the part where I'm going to go quiet, listen for the cue. And it's at that point precisely that the Harrow uses his Covenant, and now these magnetic waves that are coming out, instead of crippling amounts of HP and energy being reduced, did us absolutely no damage. Now then, this also shows us the next part of this lure was yellow, and Terrorless has run away. This is because if you take down a part during the damage phase on an Eidolon without a charged lure, they will run away. Which is why it's so important to get that first one charged as quickly as possible and then deal with him from there. Now when he respawns, he will always be near a lake. It could be any lake on the map, and believe me, there are dozens of them, but they will always respawn near a lake, and that's the same for the Gantylist or the Hydralist. Now then, hopefully we're not going to have to wait too long for this here door. We're just got to go in, we're going to change frame and show the next role of why it's important. Okay, so on to the next one. We've covered Oberon, who's very good for solos, and Chroma, who does pretty much the same role, breaking parts. Now Harrow, hopefully you can understand why he is there with relation to the magnetic phase. I was actually going to show Volt for this particular part that's next. Now for all of the weapons that we're going to be using, they're all radiation. Eidolons are slightly weak to radiation, and extremely resistant to everything else. Now, we're also using Madurai on the Vault, so usually in a team you're going to have 3 out of 4 running Madurai so that they can stack up VS, which is your Void Strike, to do that massive one-hit damage to take down the shields, and one person to use Eniro Wisps to pretty much guarantee that that happens, especially if you don't have time to stack up a lot of VS. Annoyingly, it looks like this door is going to take forever to load. There we go. Okay, so I'm again looking for the energy phase on the map, and because we're not too far away, we're still going to do the same thing again. We're going to come nice and close to him, tag him, just because I don't want to lose him. Obviously we're commentating over, in no way doing a speed run here. Okay, there we go, he's nice and tagged. Nearest alert is down here. Just gonna pop this, hack it, and this time we're going to go over here. Oh, nope, they're not Bumblists, they're animals. Okay, we go force spawn. No. Looks like we're not going to get a nice spawn of Bumblists again, unfortunately. So, we don't need to kill him for the purpose of this one. I'm just going to show you again different aspects. So, there are extremely limited number of things in the game that exist that can actually affect operators in any way whatsoever. And Vault just so happens to have one of these aspects, and Vault has his shield. Now when he puts down his electric shield, this will allow the critical damage of your amp to be boosted by a significant amount. I believe it's 50%. Now you'll note with this I'm charging towards his head. This is because of an arcane that I have on my amp. I want to make sure I've got as much crit chance as possible, just to guarantee we get them crits, and it's benefited by the shield there, which is increasing our critical damage. Now when you're using a Vault and you're putting your shields down, you always want to have them in a way that they are facing the chest of the Eidolons. The reason for this is just it's in a good habit, and it makes sure that anybody that is targeting it will be able to hit it from pretty much any point. And that's why we have the Vault shields, literally explicitly for the purpose of, you know, increasing the operator's damage. And that's why you want to be hiding behind a shield. Well, not necessarily hiding, but utilizing the advantage of a shield when you're fighting Eidolons. How long we got left? 30 minutes. Not a great amount of time really, but it's not too bad. Okay, so that's Vault. We've got one more to show. Now, a lot of these, well, with the exception of Vault and Harrow, can technically be replaced for other frames, and that's perfectly fine. They can do those roles without necessarily an issue. Now here we go. With a Trinity, you'll find that there is no melee weapon equipped here. I'm actually going to put one on because we're going to go and show you the Ganter list now and how that system works. But yeah, so ordinarily a Trinity would not have a melee weapon equipped. This is because you're going to be getting in and out of your Archwing a lot, and especially when you're stacking up Madurai, you don't want to accidentally waste a charge for no reason. So ordinarily you would not have a melee weapon in there. This can be worked around, and I'm going to show you how we do that in just a second. Ordinarily you would not have a melee weapon in there purely because we just don't want to waste a stack. Okay, so we're going to see if we can try and force out some Vombolists to get to this rock. Not spawning as of yet, which is a little bit irritating, but there we go. Okay, so we're going to hack this look. There's still no Vombolist spawning in there. That's really annoying. Hopefully we've got some this time. Nope, Kavats again. Seriously, game? Come on. Here we go. So what we want is the lure to come and get hold of them. Let's get hold of one of them. Now you'll notice I'm using my Void Dash with an Arcane, because may just lock down to do additional damage, and of course the Madarai Burning Dash as well. Want to break that first phase but not completely kill the thing, so that it can be absorbed by the Eidolon lure. There's the last Vombolist that we need there. That should be absorbed into the lure, make it blue. Now then, the next aspect of Eternity is you need to pick up the lures for everyone else on the map. Now you'll note that we didn't go and tag Terry. Quite frankly, that was a mistake. I was supposed to go and do that. I completely forgot. Too focused on commentating. But that's okay. We'll go and find him. It's not an issue. Now then, Trinity's job is to pick up all the lures. Now, I've picked up one surplus to requirement because we want to have one charged when we move on to the next one. This actually will work quite nicely, the principle of finding the terrorist. So basically we're going to look around all of the leaks, see if we can't hear him stomping around and making stupid noises. Like that, for instance. Not that I can actually see him. I think I'm just blind. Oh, there he is. So, when you're looking for him, keep an ear out. You'll hear him stomping and thumping around and roaring a little bit. So, just want to get him nice and sat still. Try and get our Arcane to proc by hitting on the head, which doesn't want to work today. There we go. So, and now we go through that same process again of breaking down his shields. This time, of course, we're doing it with Trinity. Now, Trinity's other role, in addition to looking after the lures, or rather getting the lures, is looking after them. Really, game? There we go. Okay, now we're in the damage phase. And I've got the wrong element on my Redeem Prime because I forgot to take it off. So we're not going to be able to show you Gantelist anyway. So yeah, Trinity's job is to fetch the lures and heal them like so. Now if you were doing this solo, you'd take this opportunity when it's roaring to then bolt yourself down to the next lure, and you'd pick that up and effectively go from there. Now, unfortunately, we can't show you Gantelist in this run because I forgot to change the element on my weapon because I'm a Lummox, clearly. But yeah, that's all the major roles, what they do, why they're there. Hopefully, especially for those of you that ask what's going on, what are we doing and why, hopefully that's cleared it up for you. Sorry if it's not necessarily any time to prepare anything whatsoever for this. It was literally a case of, ah crap, it's night time, let's go. So hopefully that helps, and I'll do a video at some point about focus and what we do and how we do that. That's all for this one, guys. Take care.